Hi, my name is John Greene, and I am a retired sheriff sergeant. Worked with Shasta County for almost 28 years, exclusively here, and I'm running for sheriff.
What is your vision for public safety in the county?
You know, my vision for public safety, specifically with the sheriff's office, is to provide competent, consistent, professional leadership, something which I believe has been lacking over the years, which is one of the reasons I ran 4 years ago, is to affect change in that positive manner, in an effort to give the citizens of Shasta County the service they deserve. To have an effective recruitment program, and you have to offer incentives. It was a good start for the Board of Supervisors to approve an incentive for laterals and new hires and custody personnel as well, but in my opinion that needs to be upped a little bit. We can't compete with the city of Reading. I think the latest stats from the city are they're going to be 12 new officers starting by June, and that's because they have a very large incentive for these people to apply and get hired. We need to reach out to lateral agencies throughout the state, advertise more than we have been. We need to have an effective recruitment team, which is what I was part of when I was with the sheriff's office prior to my retirement. And we need to get more involved, and we need to up the morale with the sheriff's office. No matter how much money you offer, if the word of mouth is that it's not a good place to work, you're not going to attract very many candidates.
And how do you plan on changing that?
You know, I plan on changing it by like I stated earlier, with professional, competent, and consistent leadership, not management. You know, I've been dogged over both campaigns. I don't have any management experience, but you know, I'm of the opinion that you manage things and parts and machines, but you lead people, and I have unique leadership qualities that I think will improve the morale within the sheriff's office.
What do you plan to do for illegal marijuana growers in portions of the county?
I plan to go full steam ahead on marijuana eradication. That was part of my campaign last time. It's a big part of my campaign this time. These illegal grows decimate our water supplies. They ruin our environment. They bring cartel type people into our area, which we need to get on very quickly. And you know, I was giving a speech about a month ago. And in the last 8-9 months, since we have the next appointed sheriff, the news hasn't been overwhelmingly, there hasn't been a lot of news out on marijuana busts, but I made the comment at this rally I was at that said, you watch, within the next month, it's campaign season and we'll see a big bust. And then 2 days ago, there we are on 7R with a minimum medium-sized marijuana bust. So the stats, you don't know which way or that are coming out, you don't know what they mean. They've changed them several times. So, but that is one of my main focuses going into office, is reaching out to allied agencies, the U.S. Forest Service, the California Fish and Wildlife, and other agencies that have marijuana teams, and start cracking down on these illegal grows.
Okay. And then mentioning from last night during the forum for legal women voters, Michael Johnson, who's the current sheriff, who is also running, Johnson offered a proposal in which he did speak about empty buildings or properties that the county already owns to turn into homeless shelters. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I believe we could utilize some existing structures immediately for extra jail space as soon as the courts move out. The state courts are moving out of courtrooms 1 and 2, which are attached to the jail. The infrastructure is there to convert those into extra jail beds. There is an administration center in the middle of those two that could be converted into mental health treatment facility and addiction treatment facility while these inmates are in custody, and provide them with the assistance they need. As far as the homeless shelters, once we get a new jail built, I believe we can convert one of those into, you know, an emergency type homeless shelter and provide the same mental health and addiction services to those in need.
Okay. And how would you work with the funding for that? Obviously?
The funding would come through our Health and Human Services. I know they have been very proactive in seeking out the sheriff's office to partner over the last 7 or 8 years. They've been trying to get these programs going in the jail, and for some reason they have come up against opposition. You know, and then, you know, the latest excuse for that is, oh well, COVID. You know, but you could still treat those inmates, exercising the COVID protocol.
We received concerns from the public about you receiving donations from people in the cannabis industry, and that's possibly raising concerns of how effective you will be on regulating illegal grows. What would you say?
Sure, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I've had to defend this when I ran last time. The donation was in my last campaign against Tom Basenko. I met with a gentleman who called me, and he was a businessman, owned numerous businesses, and he happened to be a part owner in a local Shasta Lake collective. And we sat down, and he asked me my opinion on marijuana, and I was very, very upfront with him, and I said, I do not agree with it. I said, I do not like marijuana. I said, but the state voters in the state of California passed it for recreational use and legal businesses, legitimate businesses to operate and sell those products. And as sheriff, it is my duty to protect those businesses as I would the mom and pop grocery store, the 7-Eleven, any other business that is paying its taxes and helping fund the cities. I do know that the first 2 years that the collectives were legal in Shasta Lake, they reaped the benefits hugely in the permit fees and taxes. Were able to repave most of their roads. So it helps the infrastructure. He offered to donate to my campaign at that time, even knowing I was opposed to marijuana, but I'm pro-business, and he gave me a small donation. And so, and that was, like I said, it was 4 years ago in my last campaign, and it's a shame that some people feel the need to muddy the waters by bringing up what they consider dirt and try and degrade my character, my integrity, just because a businessman donated a small amount of money to my campaign at that time. So, and in fact, last night at the Republican Women's dinner, I made the same comment that it's a shame when people show up and throw hit pieces out at you, which are basically lies and defamation. And it's not my responsibility to dispel those. It's the responsibility of the parties that are giving that information out to make sure it is true and correct.
And what about currently? Are you receiving any donations from people who are in the cannabis industry, or that was just only 4 years ago?
No, that was 4 years ago. And again, the last time I didn't seek it out. They came to me, wanted my opinion on the industry, which I gave it to them and told them that my opinion's irrelevant, and you're a legitimate legal business that pays taxes. And I accepted his donation then, and I would do it again. I did some research following that too, and contacted another collective in Shasta Lake and asked, hey, if they had ever donated any money to the sheriff's office. Well, lo and behold, there was a thank you letter from then Sheriff Tom Basenko from 2011, where one of the collectives, before it was legal for recreational use, had donated money to the Peace Officer Memorial Foundation in the form of a sponsorship in their ad. And it was a thank you letter signed on Sheriff's Office letterhead. So at that time, I put it out there that it's okay for the Sheriff's Office to collect money from a collective, but as I'm trying to get in office, it's not okay for me. So, it's a double-edged sword. And it went away then, but you have some feverish people during these campaigns that will latch onto something and just try and distract everybody else from the issues at hand. And it's unfortunate that it has to be that way.
What message would you want to say to those who are doubting you? Well, let me rephrase that. What message would you want to say to those who are doubting you in this position, that don't believe that you could be the next sheriff?
Right. I ran 4 years ago, and I dealt with he was just a sergeant, he was just this, he was not a manager, and like I said before, there's a difference between a manager and a leader. But what I'd like to say is I'd like to address the qualified. People are going around, well, you're not qualified, or he's not qualified, or she's not qualified. Everybody who is in the race right now, in any race, is qualified to hold office, or they wouldn't be allowed to run for office. And it's a shame that people sink to that level where they try and besmirch people's character, their experience. I am by far the most qualified candidate. My opponent, Chief Johnson, was just he was a police manager of a couple of small departments, and now he's in the sheriff's office. I have the unique experience of working over 27 years within the sheriff's office, within almost every division within the sheriff's office at one time or another during my career. You know, so I know how the whole ball of wax operates. It's apples and oranges. Police department, we both enforce laws, but the sheriff's office has so many other facets to it. It's not just a black and white law enforcement agency. We have our Office of Emergency Services, we have the coroner's office, and we have the custody division. And like I said, I've either worked, been assigned to those different divisions or worked closely with them in some capacity over my total career. My main points of my campaign, which haven't wavered from 4 years ago, which are the same as my opponents, is jail space, and I need to do it immediately. And like I said, I have plans to go forward with the vacancy of the courtrooms to try and provide a fairly immediate solution and hold some of these offenders accountable. I also have plans to reinvigorate and revitalize the Sheriff's Office work release program, to hold these low-level offenders accountable and make them give back to the community and not just give them a free ride where they show up for a couple hours, clean up a building, and then go home and get credit for 8 hours of time served. They need to be held accountable in that fashion. And you know, part of my other campaign is to protect the Second Amendment rights that are given to us by the U.S. Constitution. Those are individual, inalienable rights to keep and bear arms.